Welcome to Doxxed, the podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Doxxed, the podcast. Today, we're diving into a controversy involving indie artist Iniko, a musician with a staggering 4.2 million followers on TikTok. Iniko's 2023 song, Jericho, became the center of attention when another TikTok user, a white woman, decided to remake the Black, non-binary artist's viral song as a Christian version by changing the lyrics. She claimed that her rendition was divinely inspired and went as far as to publicly condemn Iniko's original version as demonic, igniting backlash within the online community. What sets this story apart is not only the clash of creativity and religious interpretation but also the power dynamics at play. It's a tale of entitlement and appropriation, set against the ever-evolving landscape of our digital culture.
And you're not feeling well at all because of a period or because of COVID still? Or both?
Probably both. I mean, I'm not COVID positive, but a horrible 11-day period for some
Oh
reason.
my God.
Heavy every day.
That's horrible. Has it been more consistent since your surgery?
Well, my periods have been consistently terrible. And when I couldn't take it anymore, I messaged my doctor to send me a prescription for birth control. So I can just take the pill pack to pack without any placebo weeks, so I can just avoid having a period altogether, which is what I was doing before. And when I wasn't feeling well and sleeping all day, I think I skipped a day and then doubled up on the next day. And as soon as I woke up in the morning, I started spotting. I was like, well, that's normal when you're late on a pill, when you've been taking it really consistently, that you might spot the following day.
Yeah.
But it just got heavier and heavier. I'm like, well, I feel like I'm just kind of wasting the pill. So I'll just stop for this week. And then when I stop bleeding, I'll start it up again. And 11 days went by and I finally stopped today. But my God, I've been in so much pain.
It finally stopped today, you said?
Yeah.
I hope that's good. Has it been better today?
I'm still sore. It feels like I've been punched in the uterus repeatedly for the last week and a half. So I'm just tender and sore.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm ready for a full hysterectomy. I would like to be done with all the lady parts, please.
Yeah, it's a hell of a journey.
How are you doing?
I'm sorry you got sucker punched. How am I doing? I don't even know. Doing fine. I don't know. I have seasonal affective disorder, so I definitely feel it when it comes into these kind of months, even though somehow these are my favorite months of the year, and also I definitely get depressed around this time of year.
Yeah.
But I do feel pretty good about music that's coming out on October 27th. So that's a really big deal to me.
Yay.
Thank you. I just really needed music to come out this year, and it did. So, or it's going to. So that's very good. And music video too that I worked on the last couple weeks.
Amazing.
Thank you. And I tried extensions, which was exciting for my hair.
You sent me a picture and they were perfectly matched.
I have no idea how I did that. I just kind of picked some and they actually are exactly right. So that but I also tried a wig and I had a sensory meltdown about the wig. So I don't think I can do wigs because
a full wig.
Yeah, I got the extensions to try and I got this wig that was the same kind of length and it had bangs. And the wig I got off TikTok, the extensions I got on Amazon. And I hate the wig. I can't do a wig. Very upsetting to me, very overwhelming. It was sweaty and itchy and I couldn't get my hair
Did you get a wig cap?
I wore like a hairnet and I tried to braid my hair so it would stay in the thing, but it was like too much hair to fit, but also slipping out because some of the hair was too short and then it was itchy and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I just have to figure out. Well, I did like the extensions though, but then I like the idea of getting permanent extensions instead of clip-in ones. And then I learned that's very expensive. So I'm sad
Mhm.
that you have to be rich to be pretty and feel good in your body. So that sucks to learn once again. But
Have you seen those memes that are like, it's usually a before and after of Kylie Jenner, and then usually it's captioned, "You're never ugly, you're just poor."
oh no. That's mean to Kylie Jenner. The other thing I saw, which I don't think is funny, I just was like, oh, that's not cool to speculate. But somebody was like on a TikTok speculating based on her facial proportions that she has fetal alcohol syndrome. And I was like, I feel like that's not something you
Oh,
should
no.
speculate. Yeah, like I feel like that's not something that's anyone's business you should speculate about. But it's a shame. Anyway,
They usually, like, try to clock that in people based on the distance of your eyes.
yeah.
And they'll say if you have wide set eyes, you have fetal alcohol syndrome. Like, no, that's not necessarily true for everyone that has wide set eyes. Let's leave people's eyes alone.
Yeah, plus it's just always uncomfortable to me. Like, I'm not a doctor, so maybe that is how you tell by like people's facial proportions, that particular thing. But whenever somebody is trying to like measure someone's head, like cranial, so I'm always like, okay, that's that's an uncomfortable place to be moving to. I don't know about that. So anyway, um, yeah, so you wanted to talk about Iniko.
Yeah, I've been very upset about
You've
what's
been
been going
upset.
on with them. Sorry.
Mhm.
Oh, fuck. Them. They, them, theirs. They, them,
Yeah.
theirs. Say it to myself like 15 times so I don't fuck up this whole episode. They, them, theirs. Okay. So I've been very upset over what's been happening with them, even though I took a long hiatus from my rage to be ill. Um, ill for other reasons. But now I'm back and I'm mad again.
Back and mad again. Yeah, you've been mad the whole time you were sick about this.
For various reasons.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of opinions about appropriation of Black music, but maybe do you have a summary of the most recent thing with the Christian horrible lady?
Well, I like that you're gonna like have the take on appropriating Black artists. I have the take of like white Christian evangelical women demonizing Black women since the slave ships, basically. And
Yes.
it's such an old, tired thing that's been happening for so long. It's a tale as old as time of Black women being seen as the Jezebels, being seen as demonic, being seen as temptresses, being seen as everything but pure and pious and virtuous and everything that white women in the church want to be. And I think it's really interesting that this white woman, after all the research I've done, I've yet to hear anyone refer to her by her name, which is fine with me. I'm happy to disrespect her on this episode and just refer to her as this white woman. But uh, I find it interesting that this white woman seemed to have liked the song, obviously likes the song. And I feel like the moment she saw the fact that this artist was a Black woman and saw the artistry and the imagery and the music video, immediately felt like I have to distance myself from liking the song as it is because this artist is Black.
Yeah.
She presents as a Black femme. And the minute she saw that, she had to like backpedal and distance herself, which is fine to do if you feel you need to do that to like save face or whatever.
Mhm.
But then to take the extra step, this woman not only demonized Iniko for no reason at all, but then took the extra step to rewrite their song and change the lyrics to make it a Christian song, and said that the original was demonic and like a Satan's lullaby or whatever. It's wild. It's wild.
That's some serious projection. It is why I also have not heard anybody use her name, which I think is good.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other important part about it is that she makes money and gets more attention for the tune. But I think that people try to really intentionally counteract that because it's happened before with Iniko. When I first got on the app, I think that was one of the first like major controversies I was kind of watching go down. And it was when that other person, Christian Kostov, covered Iniko's song, and the original version of it got the sound got like muted off of TikTok while this other person had covered the song and did like not as good of a job. It was like it was an Asian artist, and frankly, I mean, I'm not like anti auto tune, but Iniko's version just had so much I don't know, like rawness in the vocals, and like it was so clearly original to them in the I don't know, there's definitely like some magic in Iniko vocals. Iniko is like a very, very good lyricist. And I've covered Iniko music in not on TikTok, but on because Iniko's pretty explicitly said like don't don't cover my stuff if you're not. And anyway, that was a whole controversy last year. And I don't know. I mean, that kind of thing obviously happens on TikTok a lot where like somebody will just put a white face on black work and then it does better. That's just what happens on TikTok. And it's an extension of what happens in, you know, really all of music, but like a lot of pop, a lot of rock, all of rock, you know, was descended from blues, Delta blues. That's very specifically a Black history that just kind of got like a white face slapped on it. But yeah, I guess this other example of this year, I really want to know this woman's name. I should have looked it up. I don't want to say it on the episode, but I don't even know what her account is, and I didn't even listen to the song directly, except for just clips that I saw from other people.
I think her TikTok name is such a common thing to see on TikTok since I first got on TikTok. We're going on like 3 years now, where white women and girls, I think, are just so used to being in the center, so used to being centered and being the mainstream and like being the standard for everything.
Yeah.
Especially on TikTok. In other places, sure, but like especially on TikTok, where they feel really emboldened to take liberties with Black creators' work and rebrand them as their own without even a second thought, and then be rewarded for it by the algorithm with engagement and clicks and views and brand deals and all of that. And a lot of times when they do get some backlash when they're paying attention, if it even reaches them, it seems like the ones that really do engage in that kind of behavior and really ride the wave of the fame that they get from it, they can't even fathom how racist it is because they're so used to being centered that they don't even see the problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok just completely erases context. But again, I think this definitely already was happening for history way before TikTok
Yeah.
too. But it's really, I think, the ease with which context just gets like sloughed away on that app. I think that's why. So it's just kind of like this extreme version of what happens already, and it just makes it so easy.
What I'm used to seeing on TikTok are white women and girls kind of doing a rebrand of Black people's work, like with the dances and stuff, just kind of just redoing it, maybe not even with their own spin, not even with their own take, just kind of imitating what Black people are doing, and their whole TikTok career takes off from that. But with this woman rewrote the lyrics to their song, took the song, rewrote the lyrics, and then had the audacity to go on tour and tour around church stages singing Iniko's song with different lyrics. That is bold as fuck.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in general, I think people kind of look down on covers in a way that, like, people are going to cover songs, but then you have to think about power dynamics and who's making money. And if she's touring churches, she's making money. The other thing is her TikTok is looking pretty wackadoo from my perspective as I'm clicking in here. And like, good for Iniko, who I think last year sometime had like a little over 1 million followers, and now she has like, or sorry, they have about 4.2 million followers now. So good for them. And
Right.
this person seems to have somewhere in the tens of thousands, fewer than I did on my
And
God band.
they're definitely attracting the Christian white nationalist crowd for sure.
Well, it's interesting because I clicked in and her most recent TikTok is like interesting to me because it's responding to a comment that says when you have to limit your comments, you've done something wrong, which I don't like, because it's kind of like obviously people are jumping on trying to like do some of these same tactics of cancellation or whatever that we experienced, only when you know that can be used to punish someone when people have no idea, which sucks.
Yeah.
But then her response is this video, which is captioned, "If Christ had a TikTok," and she's just like,
Oh Lord.
it's just like describing like if she was Christ and how she would behave or something. And then the video before that is her duetting a Black creator who rewrote Doja Cat's music and to be more Jesus-y. And she's like jamming to this person on a ukulele singing a Doja Cat Jesus version.
I mean,
It's
is
a
this
weird
Kids
choice.
Bop? Like, what's going on?
Is this what?
Kids Bop?
Kids.
Like, what the heck?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting she duets this other person with the Doja Cat rewrite. And I guess that is pretty common, but it doesn't change the fact that she was a white face slapped on top of the Iniko song while also demonizing Iniko for like pretty obvious reasons, which I feel like it's like a tokenization to then put this other person on her to duet this other person
Yeah,
with this
for
other
sure.
song, you know?
Absolutely. Let me find the first Black creator I clap eyes on and then cheer and duet them so I look like I have a Black friend. Like, it's a
Yeah.
tale as old as time.
Oh yeah. I will say, like, not an excuse, but an explanation, I guess, is that, and it's not even like it's an obvious explanation because there's such a close tie from the Christian church to colonization, and that's what's happening
Mhm.
here. But there's also a really common thing in my memory about reusing, and I mean, and just in general, like when something is a catchy tune, people will just repurpose it for folk music or for uh religious music or just because it's a good way to like introduce somebody that already likes one tune into your thing. Like that even happened with
Mhm.
rap music. There was a whole era, there was a whole like phase where uh rap music started taking on samples that were like popular music, like white people music, and then
Mhm.
it got white people into
Yeah.
rap. Like it was like a whole thing. Um, but yeah, the church does that all the time, I think. Just like takes tunes and turns it into Jesus music. But I think the difference too was this lady really did it while at the same time like shitting all over Iniko for not any good reason and just being like you're demonic.
For no good reason at all. And it's something that I, as a Black person who spent a lot of time in white churches, have seen happen firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand where a white woman, specifically a white woman in the church, sees another woman of color also in the church and just has all these different stereotypes and biases in their mind that this woman of color is less than me. They are less pure, they are less saved, they are less spiritual, they are more prone to insert whatever than I. I am the standard. I am the most virtuous. I'm wife material. I will be a preacher's wife one day. That seems to be the vibe in these white evangelical Christian churches among women, among white women, because of toxic purity culture.
Yeah.
It's so deeply baked into the cake of evangelical Christianity to be racist towards not just Black people in general, but specifically Black women, because you're taught that you are property in the church. You have no bodily autonomy, you have no rights, you have no say. Your body is the only thing of value, and then when you get picked finally, when you get married, your body belongs to some man, and it's like a fight to the death to make sure you get picked. And in order to get picked, you have to make sure that you distance yourself from anything that might tarnish your image as this like pure, virtuous white woman in the church.
Yeah, and there's even like an archetypal black-white connection there, where we just sort of assume that there are these like objective associations between black and white of bad and good, dirty and clean. And those are assumptions that don't have to be automatic associations at all, but they're really ingrained.
Yeah. And it really upsets me. This whole thing is it's so unnecessary. But I can tell just watching her content. I know she was never taught to seek clarity. She was never taught to expand her curiosities beyond her own experience. She was never taught to understand anything that looks unfamiliar to her. And that's sort of the goal of the church. They want you to focus on God and focus on being indoctrinated and focus on the teachings of the Bible and the teachings of whoever the spiritual leader in the community is, whoever the minister, pastor, whatever. You're taught to just keep your mind so closed and so narrow and have your blinders on, and anything that looks different or sounds different is automatically of Satan. It's automatically
Yeah,
a demon, and you're going to lose your salvation if you even think about it.
it's a
And
demon.
so it's a demon. It's demonic. Everything that's different is demonic, and that's so colonial. It's so colonial.
Well, yeah, it just very
White
much
people have gone around the
reinforces us
entire
as men.
world. White people have gone around the entire world, going to every country on the planet to tell people that they're different from them. This doesn't look familiar to me, so it's demonic, and you need to be saved, and you need to convert to Christianity. You also need to let us as white people control you and change your culture so it's more like us.
Yeah.
And that's your ticket into heaven, maybe.
Yeah, it's all colonization. I mean, it's hard to even talk about Christianity. For me, it's even hard at this point to talk about Christianity in a way that is good faith toward people that are Christians. And I try to do that because like there has to be some kind of space for real people who are just, and I think people need some kind of community. So there's got to be some way to practice Christianity and be like a good person. And I know good people, but it's like I
Mm-hmm.
have to almost keep that in mind because it's really hard to even talk about the religion at all and not just like throw the whole man away, like put
Yeah.
the whole entire man in a garbage because the
Yeah.
man of Christianity, because I have a really hard time seeing it as anything but colonization at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that hits hard for people that are like sincerely of faith people, but it's like you have to understand, if it's not you, then leave it on the floor or whatever, but like you have to understand how much pain your religion has caused because of this fundamental like impetus toward colonization. And it's in everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
the white saviorism is exactly what the church is and does, and the patriarchal values that it sets up. Like it's all tied in there, and the whiteness and blackness, that's all part of the history that maybe you don't talk about and you don't want to see, but it's consciously baked in there by the history. So,
Mm-hmm. And
uh,
it's also like causing all this pain and then having the nerve to say in the name of God and saying that basically every urge and every impulse that an evangelical Christian has that benefits them socially within the church walls is automatically God spoke to me. God told me to do
yeah,
this, regardless of the impact it has on anyone that they just don't see as valuable. And that's what it is. It's fine if it hurts this person because this person isn't saved in my eyes. This person isn't spiritual in my eyes, so it's fine. And if it's fine, well, then God told me to do it. God also told them slavery was fine. God
yeah,
also said manifest destiny. And God told this white woman to take Iniko's song and change the lyrics according to her. So
yeah.
it's
I mean,
garbage.
it's crazy how much people let themselves rest on that like external patriarchal authority. And I have a fun theory that, I mean, the Bible is a very interesting document to me. And I have a
Mm-hmm.
whole fun theory about how it's not just my theory either. It's like a Gnostic whole thing, but that the God of the Bible is basically just like uh, a shitty angel who
Mm-hmm.
like came to Earth and just decided that he was going to make everybody else, he was just going to call everybody else the devil in his framing. But if you kind of reframe the Bible and you're like, what if God is basically the devil? Like, what if God is basically the shit evil one? It makes so much sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
um, it really does. So, and I had to like, it's very traumatizing because the God of the Bible is very much the patriarchy and colonization.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to step away from that for years because it was very traumatizing to think that that was the way things were, was the patriarchy and colonization, and it was like a
Mm-hmm.
rule by fear. And then to step back and look at it again with this new framing of like, what if you're actually this like sad, silly little limp dick man instead of like God, you know?
Mm-hmm.
um
What if all of us that are all one thing, what if we are God?
Exactly. What if it's inside instead of outside? What if it's in instead of up? You know? Yeah.
Which is what I feel that the lyrics of Jericho kind of allude to.
Oh, yeah. And that's what makes it other. And it's all about self and other. It's all about let's group the in group and the out group, um, and frame it so that, yeah, so that that has to be the out group. And it's precisely because it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Scary. And who's it scary to? The people that, need God to be the God.
Mm-hmm.
It's like toppling their worldview. But yeah, to me, Iniko's lyrics are just divine. I mean, Iniko is divine. And
I
there's a lot about black femininity that's divine, but then even going beyond that, just those lyrics are like really inspired and
mm-hmm.
magical. Like I don't know if they consider themselves with somebody that does music magic, but I would consider that music magic, absolutely. So
Yeah,
that's what's
it's
scary.
meant to touch parts of your soul that I mean, I feel like music is supposed to touch parts of your soul, no matter what kind of music it is. It's kind of the point of music. It's meant to move you in a deep way. It's meant to move you in a way that spoken word can't. Music is magical. And I don't think Inigo's songs are about like trying to drag anyone to hell with them. Like I don't think it has this
No.
like evangelical magnet like it's not like recruiting for an MLM like Christian music can be,
No, they're
like
empowering. Empowering.
evangelical Christians try to do. It's all about recruiting and trying to build the kingdom of heaven or what the fuck ever. And it's such a projection to say that the song Jericho was a quote satanic strategy, she called it.
Yeah.
A strategic song from the enemy, she called it.
Well, yeah,
I'm
the
like, no,
enemy
there
of
is,
her, maybe, but she,
yeah, the enemy as in Lucifer, the enemy as in Satan, but it's like no, that's what evangelical Christians try to do. That's the strategy for them to convert and indoctrinate and judge and demonize and turn people against and other people. Everyone's an other if they're not in the in group. It's such a
yeah.
projection. And they say the same thing about like the people that complain about people that are really like patriotic about where they're from. They have a lot of pride in their nationality or a lot of pride in their race or whatever.
Mhm.
And some white people say, well, what about white pride? If I was white, then that would be wrong. It's like, well, because white pride means something different. It means everyone's in danger if you're proud to be white. Like it means something different, right?
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about evangelical Christianity. Like the strategy of the evangelical church means something a little different.
Well, you're
So
right.
if you listen to a song that moves you and you can't help but your spirit is moved by it, to the point where you're like, it must be demonic because it touched my soul in a way that I'm uncomfortable with. So this black artist must be trying to get me to Satanism. No, that's a projection.
Yeah, well, and if you're completely right. And if Iniko's song is like a spell, this other Christian lady's song is like a spell as well. It's like intended to
Mm-hmm.
reverse the power of it and to like
Yeah,
tamp down the power of it, you know?
exactly.
And it's kind of effective, and it's all about like the words that you speak and the energy that you give things, basically. And that's why it's really cool to see people not saying her name, like giving
Mm-hmm.
her a lot of time and space. And this lady has like what, 18,000 followers, and I'm sure is, trying to be like an energy vampire and suck up some of the attention that Iniko gets deservedly.
Yeah. And I'm
But
sure she's getting a lot of hate. Like, I'm sure it's awful
yeah, well, that's
on
it. When
her
I
end.
click in, I see this comment and I'm like, oh, I know what you're going through. And it's not, and I don't want to be like an arbiter on high of who deserves the wrath. I don't really think the wrath of random comment trolls is ever like, you can drown people out and you can like take away their platform like that, but I don't really think like just trying to waste someone's energy with that is really anything productive. And so I'm just kind of like, ugh, when I see it. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's perfectly fine to just physically tamp out somebody's like space to be given attention that is not deserved. So
Right.
yeah.
I feel like she shouldn't be rewarded for what she's done to Iniko. Taking their song, rewriting it, touring with it, profiting off of it. Absolutely not. And to be terrorized online, you and I both know that's not cool. It feels terrible. And I don't think anyone is deserving of that kind of horror and for how long it can go on. But she shouldn't be continued. She shouldn't be able to continue to profit off of what she's done.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I hope that all the backlash that she's getting stays attached to every performance of that song. That's how it should be.
Are you tired of feeling unsafe online? Do you want to learn how to protect yourself from cyberbullying, doxing, and other forms of online harassment? Then look no further than Doxxed the Podcast. Visit the website doxxedthepodcast.com to sign up for the Doxxed free ebook full of helpful tips and resources for online safety. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive the weekly newsletter with the latest updates on upcoming content. There are many ways to connect with Doxxed, including Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Have a story to share or feedback to give? use the contact form on the site to reach out or leave a voice message to be featured on the show. And for exclusive content, subscribe to the Doxxed Supercast to gain access to the private podcast feed with member-only exclusives. Take control of your online safety and join the Doxxed community today.
I also think it's like a bigger problem than just her. It's because it's also music kind of moves like that, all of it. And it really is, in a bigger picture sense, all stolen and appropriated. Or I guess you can do certain things in a respectful way. Like you can honor something rather than appropriate it, which all completely has to do with like power dynamics. And in capitalism, who gets paid? It has so much to do with who's getting paid. And there's just a very long history of a graveyard of people who came up with, of Black people who came up with music and had no credit and didn't get paid. I found out something interesting about it's called slowed plus reverbed music, with slowed plus reverb, which is like, I bet you can recall certain sounds on TikTok that have done this. It's what it sounds like when they take a track that's already a known pop music or whatever, slow it down and add reverb, right? And you would think that was just kind of like something someone figured out how to do, but I found out a whole history of it today. And there was this moment on YouTube where a creator called Slater, whose name is Geraldine Moore, and he's a guy from Texas who is Black. He was the main guy who made slowed plus reverb a popular thing, which first came up on YouTube. But the thing is, he grew up listening to a guy named DJ Screw, who did a style called Chopped and Screwed, which was a Texas hip hop style. And so,
yeah, I remember that.
Okay, because you were like in Texas area at some points in your life.
Yeah.
I was not. So I'm more into like, I'm more aware of like East Coast stuff. But yeah, the Chopped and Screwed, which is funny because I had a Korn album when I was younger called Chopped, Screwed, Live, and Unglued. So I bet they were like also taking from DJ Screw. So anyway, slowed and reverb is totally descended from Chopped and Screwed style. And Slater says this because he listened to DJ Screw as he was growing up, and he was from that area. And I read this article, which I can include in the like links or whatever. But basically, the article was making this good point that it got laundered because there was this, like, for example, they brought up this account called Song Psychology on TikTok, which did kind of like a music theory learning video talking about slowed and reverb and talking about its like basic musical characteristics, and refers to it as a phenomenon and credits it to Slater. But the song psych person is just a white lady and then never mentioned DJ Screw. And so she did eventually issue like a correction because she got some backlash because people were like, you can't just erase DJ Screw from this history. But it's just a really good example of how easy it is, and especially on TikTok, to just take away the context. Just zoop, zoop. Like the whiteface was the most popular, and now suddenly DJ Screw has nothing to do with that history. And there was even the producer Slater actually made a video that said, he said, I will pay you $3,000 to have your content, like the song site content, scrubbed from the internet. Because that's how much he cared that the DJ Screw part of that history was part of it. But like it's so quick. And even though SongPsych issued a corrective video, it's done already. Like you already spread the misinformation, and it was so easy. And SongPsych probably spent a solid hour or whatever researching this video, whatever, and just missed a thing. But of course is seen as an authority and probably is like positions themselves, and it's easier with a white face, and it's done already. Like that context is already stripped, and it's so easy. So that was such an
Yeah.
interesting example to me because like I didn't know that history. All you think is like slowed and reverb. That's kind of a cool, that's a cool
Yeah.
idea. But that's all
Well,
of music
also
history.
with the advent of TikTok, no one really has to be thorough with anything anymore.
Not only has you
That
can't
can,
be.
research can you can take 5 minutes researching something, and I'm saying that in air quotes because you can make a 1 minute TikTok video about it and it can go viral and millions of people can see it. And that's kind of what people are after. They're just after the clicks and views and revenue that can come with that, which there's nothing wrong with wanting to make your bag. Like, we all have to survive under capitalism. I get it. But no one has to be, not everyone out here is like Swoop with the whole team really looking under every rock, turning over every leaf to really get the details and get really granular about things.
Yeah.
When you're on TikTok, you don't have to do all that.
Well, to me, it's like you almost can't. You almost can't. And you do have like a personal responsibility. And I think the audience has a personal responsibility as well, which nobody seems to acknowledge or participate in.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do, because not only if you don't have that context are you, you can still put your 1 minute video out, but you're more likely to go viral because the
Mm-hmm.
controversy part of it will help. And so if you get some fact wrong, the whole algorithm is going to be like, everybody's responding, telling you that you got something wrong. So now you are blasted. And for people that don't care about being right, that's just a tool in your belt, basically.
Right.
And
Right.
so yeah, you're more likely to win at TikTok if you if you just don't care about context. And I told somebody, I might have even said this on another episode, but I told somebody one time pretty recently because they were talking about trying to get on TikTok and educate about their niche. And I was like, you can't educate on TikTok. You can just make people feel like they are educated because it's all about giving people an emotional feeling. And really, it's funny because music does a similar thing. Like, music is
Right.
also, I think you're right, music is all kind of magic. And to me, the way that I think about what is music and what does it do is always to ask the question, what is the function of this music? What is it
Mm-hmm.
accomplishing? Like, that gives you a lot of insight into whether it's good or bad because is it accomplishing its function? And yes, and music does make you, it is moving in some way, but that's why it's like this Christian version of this song is like a counter spell, basically, because what is it doing in the world? Like, what is it doing politically? It's like
Absolutely.
countering this kind of empowering nature of the Iniko stuff. And anyway, the videos are like that too. They're like basically just, what are they doing? They're doing something emotional to you. You're not really
Yeah.
learning something intellectually, but I think there is some uh, spectrum of that. Like, you can try to be responsible as a creator as much as possible. I remember in my old account, especially, this account is more just me trying to hype my music mostly. But my first Aquarian Music Witch account that got banned, that I tried with every video that I made that was like educational, I tried to put a source. But it was interesting too. People would often not see the source and still ask me for the source. Like, I would put the source on the
Mm-hmm.
screen in a corner and try to make sure it was like visible because
Mm-hmm.
I cared about that kind of thing. And people would just still comment and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Where'd you get this from?" Or like, "Where can I see the full video?" And I'm like, "It's literally on the screen." But that's on the,
I would cite my sources too,
yeah.
just to have people be like, "You're not qualified to talk about this. You're just making stuff up." And I'm like, "It's literally on the screen,
I
my source."
know. Well, that is also part of why I started citing sources because I didn't like I didn't I was talking about like spiritual stuff too. And I didn't want to be just talking out my ass. And I wanted not to just like appropriatively whip out some rando bullshit about chakras or something. So every time I ever talked about any of that stuff, I was like, here's the exact source. So if you have an issue with the source, you can take it up with the source, you know?
Right.
But I bet I got less backlash than you too. I mean, I've definitely gotten backlash. I've definitely been called, Delulu. But yeah, I bet before our whole bullshit situation from this year, I bet I got less questioning of my authority, excuse me, as I was making those videos, than you did. I bet that's true.
I didn't get a lot of questioning of my authority until the bullshit started.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I didn't have a lot of people saying that I wasn't qualified to speak on literally anything that I spoke on until then.
Yeah, I guess same with me. I did get like, it's funny because I think also the type of person that was questioning me shifted because before the bullshit, the bullshit with a capital T and B, TM, um, I I would get a lot of pushback from white men and also
Mm,
from Christians. And I think I was again like I was up there being pretty harsh to Christians. And I think doubling back a little bit, I think you're right that there's like a difference with like I always felt like there was a difference between critiquing Christianity and critiquing maybe other religions because Christianity is in the centered position. So it's kind of the same thing as
yeah.
like naming whiteness and maleness for me, where it's like, I know there are good people who are a white man. I'm aware of that. And I know we've had this like conversation on here before, and it's like we don't need to tiptoe around those people, but it's like in my own head, I almost have to make space for that because I care very much about making space for humanity and real practical situations that people are in. And in real
Mm-hmm.
practical life, yeah, you can be born as a white man and like try your best and maybe figure it out and decolonize yourself and be a good or be just trying your best, you know? Okay, you can be a
Yeah.
Christian and be trying your best. I want to leave space for that. But it's like to counter this thing of like, yeah, but you're in this centered position. So why is me just naming it like such a defensive problem for you? Why is it a problem to just be like, no, Christianity and colonization are like two peas in a pod, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
they really are. And it really is because and Christianity, like I was a Christian and I know we got fed this narrative that we were the victims of the world and that we were in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not true. I mean, it could be approaching true, which I'm sure feels scary, you know, but like it just we were not being martyred. We were not being burned at the stake at the time I was going. It was like what I was led to expect was going to happen in the world. Eh,
You
and
know who was burning people at the stake? Literal Christians were burning people at the
really,
stake.
I mean,
You
it's projection.
sneezed? Witch!
It's
Burned at the
projection.
stake. You know how to tie your shoes? Witch!
I just found out that, I mean, I don't know. I also learned it on TikTok, so who the hell knows? But there was this TikTok about St. Patrick and how he drove all the snakes out of Ireland and how there were never snakes in Ireland. So that's basically just a myth about, that's just a metaphor for witches. He killed all the witches.
Jeez.
Yeah. But I did want to also, I had in my notes another point about, um, because I listed a couple of musicians throughout history that have appropriated Black music. And it definitely is easy to strip context on TikTok, but it doesn't mean it doesn't always happen. And I had found this whole article about Led Zeppelin because they basically all of rock and really starting, I think kind of
Mm-hmm.
starting through like Elvis.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's at the top of that list.
he was the white face that he slapped on top of Delta blues. So through that, rock was born.
Mm-hmm.
And so really all of rock is kind of like, you know, and you see that in like Eric Clapton. Clapton is racist as hell
Mm-hmm.
also. Like I did not even realize the extent until Googling around today again. But that's a whole other thing. Led Zeppelin, uh, Whole Lot of Love is really strikingly similar to a song by a guy, Willie Dixon, called You Need Love. And Willie Dixon filed a lawsuit and got himself credited as a songwriter in like later releases of that song, Whole Lot of Love, because it was pretty lifted. But the art, but you know, sometimes that, and I know music, I've been in music for my whole life and I have a lot of music education. And so I know the whole argument about like, is this song close enough to this one to be considered a lifted song, you know? And a lot of times it's actually not that hard to either just come up with something independently that someone else basically wrote, or
Mm-hmm.
B, to subconsciously pick something up and then incorporate it and not even realize. Like those things can definitely happen because of the nature of music and because kind of everything. I think my favorite Bible verse is the one that is like, all things are wearisome, the eye never sees enough, the ear never hears enough. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
And
No one really is reinventing the wheel when it comes to
yeah,
music.
exactly. So it's all kind of like everything is a reference to everything else in the same way that language is, like words. Like every word has the power of the whole history of every time everyone used that word before it.
Mm.
But anyway, so there's a spectrum. So there's some, you can definitely get music that you're like, it's similar, but like you're really gonna call like a 1-4-5-1 progression a copy when it's everyone uses it or whatever.
Mhm.
However, Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin said in an interview, Page's riff was Page's riff. It was there before anything else. I just thought, well, what am I going to sing? That was it. A nick. In other words, he knew he stole it. A nick. He stole it. He says, now happily paid for. At the time, there was a lot of conversation about what to do. It was decided that it was so far away in time and influence. Well, you only get caught when you're successful. It was written like 7 years before Led Zeppelin lifted it. And they
Jeez.
knew they were lifting it. He knew that and in this case, it's actually more clear because not only was the music similar, but the lyrics were lifted. So like, yeah, he lifted it. He knew what he was doing, and they reasoned, oh, well, no one's going to notice. And then he's like, oh, well, we got caught. But that's what happens.
You know what that says to me?
Hmm.
I am privileged.
Yeah.
I am centered. I am the standard. I can do what I want.
I get to own this. I get to do what I want. Yeah. And he's right. And then he just paid it off because they got caught, like pay your $300 in Monopoly or whatever. But it's interesting because Willie Dixon used the money that he got from his settlement to start something called the Blues Heaven Foundation. He founded it in 1984, and the mission of the Blues Heaven Foundation is to help artists and musicians obtain what is rightfully theirs and to educate both adults and children on the history of the blues and the business of music. So basically, he started a foundation to kind of counter some of that, because it's and it helps other artists like receive royalties, but it's such a common, totally pervasive problem. The other one that I was really looking at was Clapton. And Clapton is so racist that they started a whole thing called Rock Against Racism as a result of his bullshit. And I didn't even know this. And I knew that he lifted blues because my dad it listens to classic rock, and Clapton is obviously like mixed into all those channels and stuff. And like
Right.
all of his stuff is clearly like a white guy that did blues, but not only
I've known about Eric Clapton since I was a little girl. My
oh, yeah.
dad was a musician on the side and
Yeah,
would rant about Eric Clapton.
like in a mad way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Clapton went on this like tirade during a concert. What even concert was it? Hold on, let me see what year this was in. I think it was in the 80s. Hold on. I guess it was a concert in Birmingham, and okay, like late 70s, 76. Anyway, he went on this tirade where he says, I'm not even going to read all of it because he says some really horrible things. He says, stop Britain from becoming a black colony, get the foreigners out. And then he says some terrible words. And then he says, keep Britain white. And then he like yells at all of the people in the concert and says, do we have any foreigners in the audience tonight? If so, please put up your hands. Where are you? Wherever you are, I think you should all just leave, not just the hall, but our country. I don't want you here in the room or in my country. So he goes on this like horrifically racist rant. And then he kind of makes it worse later on because years later, he tries to kind of walk it back, but like walks it back in a way where it's clear he's still a horrific racist, because he says, I was so ashamed of who I was. I was kind of semi-racist, which takes. No, you weren't kind of semi-racist, Eric Clapton. You were horrifically racist. So much so that they literally started a movement called Rock Against Racism as a result of your racism. And he also had some bullshit about half of my friends were black. I dated a black woman. I championed black music. He didn't champion black music. You profited off of black music. So that is a disgusting. And yeah, and also apparently Clapton did an
sex with black women doesn't mean you're not racist.
No, yeah, no. That's some of that entire everything Clapton said that I just relayed is horrifically racist, including all of his stuff he said as an excuse for his racism.
I have a black friend. I'm fucking a black woman. That means I'm not racist, and I was only kind of sort of racist, which means that you don't have black friends. No, you've completely you've surrounded yourself and insulated yourself with white friends that have accepted apologies on behalf of black people, because you've seen it on TikTok. When someone does something horribly racist and gets backlash for it, all the white people in the comments are like, you don't have to apologize. This wasn't that bad. I forgive you. That's what that response comes from. Someone accepted that apology, someone that did not look like me or the black woman you were fucking or all your black friends, and made you feel better about yourself.
Exactly. I got sent a TikTok, once again a TikTok, how I exist, today, which is just like a funny thing, synchronicity, but it's from I don't know, Dara Star Tucker is the creator, and it's talking about comes up with this term racism laundering, which is basically describing this thing of when, well, I guess in that case it's not exactly, it was describing like if somebody writes an article that's racist and then ghost writes it and puts a black author on it, and was like showing examples of when this happened, where a black author later, like a black journalist later was like, yeah, that semi-racist article was like ghost written actually, and they just put it under my name. But it kind of goes to this idea of like, let's just like slap a black face on our racism and then that makes it okay. And it makes me think of that TikTok video on the Christian Ladies page where she's like, let's just find this black person who did what I did and it makes what I did okay. And I can like hide behind it. But yeah, Clapton saying he championed black music. And the article even is like, yeah, that'll probably make the majority of the people reading shudder. And yep. And then he made an anti-lockdown song with Van Morrison in 2020. Did you know that?
No.
Clapton is done, canceled as Justin Timberlake. Unrelated, but oh my God, if the real reason why Cry Me a River was written means that Justin Timberlake needs to be now canceled forever. And he's an Aquarius man, so I vote that we just cancel all of the Aquarius men.
Wait a minute. Hold on. My understanding of Cry Me a River was that it was about Britney Spears. This was back when I was in like the hip hop dance scene. I was a choreographer back then. I was in different dance troupes. I had taken dance classes from like celebrity choreographers, including the one that was rumored to have been the one Britney cheated on Justin with. What? That choreographer, who was also a choreographer for Justin Timberlake at the time too, so it was very salacious. And the thing was that she cheated on Justin with him, and they ended up not getting together after Justin broke up with her, and then she tried to get back together with Justin because they were like the perfect celebrity couple, and he was like, cry me river, you're alone and sad now. And
yeah, according to her new upcoming biography addendum or whatever, that is not the story.
Woo!
And
spill the tea.
I'm all the way on Britney conspiracy talk. I do not believe that she's like being faked, but I believe that she's not always super safe from her like family and people around her, which is really sad.
Brittany's not
And
funny.
yeah, and there's a couple of really salacious things that she like revealed after sitting on them for a long time in this upcoming stuff. But one of them was that her song Every Time, which I went back and listened to today, and it's a beautiful song and it's so sad. It was about she had gotten pregnant by Justin and he didn't want her to keep the baby. And so she had to get rid of the baby. And she was so heartbroken by that. And she wrote that song Every Time, which once you listen to it, it is so coded. It's about her wanting that baby. It's all about a baby. It's not about a man. It's not about him. And then he wrote Cry Me a River. Can you imagine? Canceled. Aquarian Men canceled. Canceled. Done.
Oh
no. We're
no.
done with them. We're done with them because that's exactly some Aquarian Man bullshit. It's horrible. That's why he's going back with NSYNC because he knows he sucks. He knows he's done. He knows he needs them now. He had way too big of an ego.
Oh no.
Oh no is right. I'm not over it.
I started side-eyeing Justin Timberlake way back in the day when he had that Super Bowl performance with Janet Jackson.
Yeah,
and
he
she
pulled
had
off
that
her. Yes, you're right. You're totally right.
He's the one that caused the wardrobe malfunction.
She did. And then she got all the backlash for
that
it.
hate,
100%
she
of the
got
hate.
all that hate and all that backlash
You're
and
right.
all that slut shaming.
You're completely
And
right.
he distanced himself from her. He was sleeping with her at the time. He was dating her at the
Oh
time.
my God,
And
really?
when she got all that backlash, he completely distanced himself
That's so
from
sad.
her.
I remember that happening. I remember that day. I was watching it live and I remember that whole day. And I remember in the immediate like couple weeks, people were talking about how they were like, he did that on purpose, or like that was definitely the rumor that it was like his choice to do it, basically. And then that all got just erased. And so many people just saw her as unclean as like a result. And you could see on her face, she was like shocked when it happened. It was horrible.
She was shocked.
That was so horrible.
She wasn't expected to be like pawed at in that way, first of all, at the Super Bowl, which is not like,
yeah,
it's not some concert performance at a private, like it's the Super Bowl.
It's the
like,
Super
it's
Bowl,
totally
yeah.
a family like thing. So
Yeah.
she probably wasn't expecting to be like groped and pawed at and ripped out like that.
Yeah.
And it's because he was sleeping with her at the time.
I didn't even know that part. But this is such an Aquarian Man bullshit. They have these like shiny ass eyes, and you're like, oh, you're like from heaven. And then they actually don't care about a woman and will stomp all over her as soon as they want to have some freedom or some crap. And I'm so just canceled. Canceled. He's canceled.
Speaking of Aquarian men, did you follow the Don't Worry Darling drama with Harry Styles and Olivia what's-her-face?
No, I like Harry Styles. Should I not?
He's an Aquarius stellium. Like his
I know that. And you know what's funny? What's funny? I totally get his music. Like as a fellow Aquarian, it's the most Aquarian music and I love it.
He's an Aquarian music man.
He is.
But there was this whole drama that he was like sleeping with the director of Don't Worry Darling, and there was some kind of drama going on. But there is a clip of the whole cast, including the director, at an awards show, maybe.
Okay.
And he walks up to his seat. There's another actor sitting between him and Olivia. I think they were probably supposed to sit next to each other, but this other actor was like a barrier between the two. And you see him walk up to his seat, mumble something to Olivia, probably calling her a bitch or something. And then he spit at her.
Oh my God.
And sat down.
I think that I heard about that, but the version I heard was that it was that it wasn't that he didn't actually spit at her, and that it was like perhaps some kind of a way to promote the movie or something.
Ugh, of course.
I don't know though. I really don't. I wasn't there.
I have to find the clip and show you, but he like I don't know. You have to watch it. You have to watch the clip.
That's fair. Well, jury's out on Harry Styles, but I will say Aquarian Men canceled. Justin Timberlake, Ramen Hair canceled. Crimea River canceled.
No
canceled,
more.
canceled.
No more. It's gonna be May. We're done with that meme.
It's gonna be May.
If you're gonna
my
date an
God.
Aquarian man, proceed with caution.
No wonder he's going back with NSYNC. He knows he's trash. Throw the whole Justin Timberlake in the trash.
Man, like you can't mess with Britney. Like she's
No, I love
America's
Britney.
sweetheart with all her twirling and spinning, and
She just
protect
spins. She just
Britney.
wants to be free to spin. Really.
She just wants to spin and twirl.
Why can't the world just let Britney spin and twirl and go on her pole? Come on, world. Just let her do it. She's
Just
allowed.
let her. She's put in the hours. She's done the work. Just let her be.
She's done the work.
Thank you for listening. Find additional content at doxxedthepodcast.com.